again. How am I going to find phages that are going to match Tom's organism? And the reading I did showed that there's 10 to the power of 31 phages on the planet. That's 10 million trillion phages. And I thought, oh, I was so overwhelmed by this. I thought, it's worse than a needle in a haystack. What am I going to do? So I went back to PubMed and I put bacteriophage, phage, Acinetobacter baumannii, and I made a list of researchers in the United States, knowing that we were running out of time, who were studying phages that attack Tom's superbug. It was a very short list, but I wrote every single one of them. I know you're studying Acinetobacter baumannii phages. Could you possibly help us? And most of them wrote back and said, I'm really sorry, but what we're doing isn't ready for prime time. But one researcher from Texas A&M, again, a total stranger, responded and said, I'm the same age as your husband, and your story really, struck a chord. He said, I would normally refer you to 1 or 2 phage companies that are occasionally helping people like you. But I'm going to turn my lab into a command center. If you send me his bacterial isolate, I'll see if any of our phage library samples and our environmental samples are a match. But I'll also put the word out internationally to see if our colleagues have any Acinetobacter phages that exist, and they can send them to me, and I'll see if they are a match. So I was really excited by this. We sent the phages, the bacterial isolate to him, and a PhD student in his lab slept in the lab for the next couple of weeks working on this, and so did several other technicians and an assistant professor, and they found 4 phages that match. Some of these phages were phages that they already had identified, and others were directly from environmental sources. Now, who in the audience knows where these environmental sources might be? Okay. Well, let me tell you, if you're looking for the perfect predator for a bacteria, you're going to go where a lot of bacteria live, and that's in sewage, barnyard samples, duck ponds, things like that. And so I like to say my husband's full of shit, but I could say that on the air. They found 4 phages that matched. One was also from a company called Amplify Biosciences, and that CEO said, use it. I don't even need to have an MOU. And so I called Chip and I said, we're going to have a phage cocktail. And he says, okay, I'm going to call the FDA and tell them all about phage therapy and get a compassionate use approval, an EIND. And he contacted them expecting that he was going to have to explain all about what phage therapy was. He spoke to Dr. Cara Fiore, who didn't know these labs. That's the Army and the Navy. So she contacted them and asked if they would agree to talk to Chip. The Army spoke to them and said, we're not in a position to help a civilian, and we're working on a different line of research here, but we think the Navy is a better place to help. And Lieutenant Commander Theron Hamilton from the Navy Medical Research Center in Frederick, Maryland, who looks a dead ringer for Tom Cruise, by the way. This is a movie. Maybe he's available. He said, do you have his bacterial isolate? And Chip said, yes, I do. And he goes, well, I suppose I could